Hey everybody! Today we are going to do my royal mandalas. Everyone that came to my wedding went home with one of these as a wedding favor. Our initials and wedding date was on the bottom to remind them of our special day. I do them in a variety of colors. It's best to use a circular rock that's kind of flat. They work best for doing mandalas. If you're doing a lot of them like I did for my wedding, you can use a spray white primer to start off. But today I'm just doing one, so I'm just going to paint it white with acrylic paint and do that twice, 2 coats. You can use whatever colors your heart desires. As you can see here, I'm going to be using purple, teal, and indigo blue. I like to try 3 colors. We're also going to be using acrylic gold paint. That's what we're going to be putting our mandala design on with. You'll need some blending brushes or some old ratty paint brushes that are kind of bushy on the ends. Those work best for blending paint colors together. Nothing fancy there. You're also going to need a fine lining brush. I don't go out and buy fancy skinny little brushes like this. I actually trim the bristles with scissors until I'm happy. I just use a regular lining brush and remove some of the bristles until I'm happy with it. It does take some work at that as well, but definitely do that if you're not happy with the size of your lining brush. Now that I've done 2 coats, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to start with the purple color first, and I'm just going to go all the way around the outside of the mandala. Don't worry about the bottom. The bottom never looks very nice. We can go back and fix that once it's dry and write your name on it or your initials. Now once you've done the outside, take a look at it from a top view and adjust the purple or whichever color you're using first to make sure that it's looking the way you want it to on the mandala rock. I'm moving on to my next color with a dry blending brush, and that's the teal. And I'm just going to go over the very edge of the purple so that we can blend the purple and blue together. Now there's a hard line between the 2 colors right now, so we're going to go back with the purple and go over top of the edge of the blue that we just put there. Try and work with it while it's wet. It works best when the paint is wet. If you do let it dry, you just might have to alternate back and forth between the 2 colors until it's blended properly. We want it to transition almost like airbrushing, so it transitions from one color to the next in a nice way. Once you're happy with that, go back to your teal color or the second color that you're putting on your rock. Make sure not to have too much paint on your paintbrush because it never blends properly when there's too much paint. And I'm just stretching that blue into the center a bit further. I want that blue to stand out on this rock. If you want any ideas on the colors or the type of design that you use on the top, take a look at my pictures of my royal mandalas on Instagram, Facebook, under Rachel's Rocks, as well as Pinterest under Rachel's Rocks. You can get all your ideas from there for these royal mandalas. The next color I'm using is an indigo, so we're going with a dark center. I might use a little bit of white to lighten up the center once we have the indigo on here. Now this indigo color is a glossy acrylic paint, so it actually looks shiny even when it's dry. You can use whatever kinds of paint you want to. Do the same thing you did with the first 2 colors. You add your color, then you go back to the teal and blend it in with the blue, and just keep alternating back and forth until that color transition happens again. It takes a lot of practice to get the blending technique down right, but once you do, you're going to be so happy. There we go. Now I'm going to go back into the center where it's not completely covered. You can see the white paint through there. And I'm just giving it a nice layer of the indigo blue. There we go. You can see all the colors. Now I'm just going to lighten the center just a little bit using a little bit of white acrylic paint. I still have a little bit of blue paint on my brush still, so it's actually going to be a bluish color, not white. And then I'm going to blend that in just like I did with the other colors. Just blend it in until it looks like it's supposed to be there in the shape that you want it to be in. There we go. Perfect. It might not look like much now, but trust me, once it's done, it's absolutely gorgeous. Now I've rubbed some of the purple paint off while I was working with it because I didn't let it dry properly. So I'm just going to go back over, sponge on some more of that purple paint to cover up my fingerprints. And then we let it dry. Make sure it's dry before you work with the gold. There we go. Now you'll need some dotting tools. Depending on the design you want to put on your rock, you'll need a fine lining brush. We're going to do a design similar to this one, but not exactly the same. Each one of my mandalas are unique, one of a kind. I never seem to be able to make them exactly the same. I'm using my gold acrylic paint for my mandala today. Big fan of gold. And I'm going to use the end of one of my paint brushes to make a big dot in the center of my rock to start with, a big center point. Now using a smaller dot, I'm going to put a dot on the top, bottom, left, and right, so we have 4 spots there. 4 main spots. Now I'm going to go in between those 4 main spots with a smaller dotting tool. Like I said, you don't have to follow my design, but I'm just here to give you some inspiration. Now that we have those 4 larger dots, we're going to do some small dots around them to make them stand out a bit more. So you start right underneath the big dot and go up either side. The dots get smaller as you run out of paint. Make sure your paint's not too runny, because then they all run together and they don't look like dots at all. Now once you're done dotting around those dots, I'm going to do some petals off of the main 4 spots here. One thing about my rocks is that there's lots of room for creativity and your own ideas, so you definitely don't have to use my ideas. Now that I have those 4 petals, I'm going to make 4 bigger ones in between those ones. It's starting to look like a mandala flower. I'm going to double line those last petals, because we're going to do something fancy in there too. Now we're going to do some more dotting. I'm going to make bigger dots in between the petals. And then I'm going to go around those dots as well with a smaller dotting tool, just like I did with the first set of dots. Always remember to let your rock dry before you start with the gold, because you're going to be handling it a lot doing all of this work on it. I'm doing 2 lines of dots on that one. Now we're doing some lines in those double lined petals. You'll be able to see on the photos as well a lot better because it's really hard to get your ideas from me while I'm moving around. So definitely I suggest taking a look at my pictures. Now you can leave it like that, or you can continue going all the way down right to the bottom of the rock. I'm just going to add some half circles and some dots. Bigger dots using my paintbrush end again. And I'm going to dot around those dots just like I did with all the other ones. As your dots get bigger, use bigger tools. I'm going to do some triangular shapes here on the very outside. Like I said, use your own creativity, or you can use my ideas. I'm just giving you some inspiration. And I just want to let you know this rock kind of seems dark in the video. It's actually bold and beautiful and bright, and I can't even believe it now that it's been sprayed. But it does look a little bit darker in my video, so I apologize for that. Once you have your gold on and where you want it to be, let it dry before you spray it, or it could possibly run together. You can also put your name on the bottom, or whatever you want on the bottom, inspirational message. And then you bring it down and spray it. And they just pop. The color just pops as soon as you spray it, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial.